Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my super fabulous coverage of the election details. And Hillary Clinton just was deemed the proposed winner of was it Illinois? I think it was Illinois. So maybe yay for that. I don't know. We'll find out after I'm done discussing this. Before I go any further, I certainly need some wine to help me. So if you're curious what this wine is, it is Blackberry Merlot. It is one of my faves, like hands down, it's delicious. And I feel like with, the potential events this evening, I may in fact need a full bottle of wine to get through it. Not to mention, of course, cheese. Cheese and wine are kind of synonymous with one another, are they not? So, anyway, election stuff. I think it's safe to say that the election has been very contentious. There's been a lot of frustration and hate on both sides. And I know when Bernie Sanders was running, there was also an equal amount of frustration and hate because people assumed that he was a socialist. And I'm trying not to laugh. My friends are laughing right now, and I'm trying to make. I'm I'm trying to maintain my composure but failing. Okay, cheese. Okay. So I decided to do this because overall I wanted to kind of gather thoughts on the election as a whole because we get to see all of these celebrities' thoughts, we get to see the thoughts of these different candidates, but normal day-to-day people, which I guess I would consider myself a normal day-to-day person, don't really get to discuss it at all. Okay, or their thoughts are very rarely heard. Um, One moment, wine. Where? 68. Yes. I mean, fascinating. Um, um, well, what was I saying now? I totally lost track of what I was saying. But anyway, I want to just gather my thoughts on this and discuss my perspective and overcome the contentious atmosphere that seems to plague, everything at this rate. And another reason why I wanted to do this is because we watch popular media, which ironically I'm doing right now. So I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself, but who cares? Wine is the answer to everything. Um, Popular media tends to repeat the same things over and over and over again, and it becomes unbelievably excessive. And it's very easy to fall prey to different perspectives on the media. It's very easy to listen to what they say and immediately believe what they say. And both candidates at varying points in their campaigns have talked about how the media has negatively impacted both of them. Like Trump is always saying that the media is rigged and that it's continually manipulating people and being on Hillary's side, while Hillary's campaign continually says that they focus too much on the emails. And it's suffice it to say it's been very frustrating for both of them. But the media ultimately does serve its purpose because its goal is to draw awareness to certain things and to, you know, I don't know, give differing perspectives. At least one hopes that that is what they're trying to achieve, right? So, um, but beyond that, I was told a few days ago that, well, first of all, I just wanted to put out there, yes, I did vote for Hillary Clinton, and it was a very difficult choice for me, but I definitely have I feel like I have some pretty solid reasons for doing so. Originally, I voted for Bernie Sanders during the primary, and since that did not successfully pan out, I had to really weigh my options and think about, well, is Hillary really the right person that I want to vote for? Is she really worth all of this hullabaloo, right? And originally I was like, no, Hillary's dumb and but now I'm like, When it comes to the safety of LGBTQ people, which, as you've probably watched my videos before, you know that I am undoubtedly one of those people, I feel much safer with Hillary Clinton in office than I do with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, one, is running with Mike Pence, who is like super anti anything LGBT. And Trump has flat out said that they are going to work to repeal same sex marriage and all of the momentum that we have gained over the past few years. And that scares the hell out of me because as a gay person, frequently I feel like I have to live in fear of whether or not someone is going to hurt me, whether or not I'm not going to have a certain right to do something. And of course, like recently I had a couple people tell me that, hey, that is selfish of you because why should you vote for something personal like that? Like, why don't you vote for the betterment of the country as a whole? And in my mind, I'm like, well, technically, aren't we all, part of the collective whole? Like, even minorities are considered part of that whole. And I don't necessarily think people should hate on other people for that. Um, but I mean, I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm correctly articulating myself. Also, oh, by the way, before I go any further, there is a little box where you can type in comments. So if you want to um, type in some comments, go ahead. And I may read them off over the course of this because I really would like your guys' opinions on all of this too. Like, even if you voted for someone else, like, I want to know your opinion. One thing that I think happens a lot during this, that has happened a lot during this election, is that people are very kind of paranoid to come out with who they're voting for, mostly because they don't want to receive any sort of judgment from other people. Like, I know I have many friends who are actually voting for Donald Trump, or who did vote for Donald Trump, and they were terrified to tell me because they know that I'm a pretty dedicated Democrat. But I was like, as long as you have a good, solid reason why you're supporting a candidate, I think that's great. Like, we all come from different perspectives, we all have different experiences that shape our reasonings behind who we choose. Which is why I thought so long and hard on whether or not I wanted to pick Hillary Clinton. Now, very commonly, I have heard people, like, if I criticize anyone or if I confront anyone's positions, especially if they're Trump supporters, I've often get asked them the question like, why do you feel motivated to vote for him? And usually the answer that I get is because he's blunt, because he's going to create change, because he's funny. And in my mind, I'm like, well, how is his bluntness or his humor going to really impact anything? Yes, it is different. And I feel like that a lot of Trump supporters are motivated by wanting something different. But at the end of the day, is that type of difference really what's the driving force? Is that really what's important? All right. I feel like that's a pretty good question to ask. Um, but and normally when I do ask that question, the response I get is like half thought, or they're just like, "Oh my god, quit being a Democrat." And and I'm just like, well, it's a valid question. If someone asks me, well, Donnie, why are you voting for Hillary Clinton? She is basically Sauron, rah. I'm like, I mean, as a minority, I feel safer with someone who has my well-being in mind. Okay. And Trump has made statements about how he wants to support minorities, how he values people, but he doesn't explain how he's going to help them necessarily. And I really feel like he would be more convincing if he did provide a little bit more explanation of his stances on things. Normally, when he states something, it's half thought, or it's simply a statement along the lines of, "Oh, well, I'll make America great because I'm great, because I like to win." But what does "I like to win" even mean? Okay? Winning can be viewed from multiple different perspectives. Winning could be defeating someone else, winning could be helping people, winning could be doing nothing. It could be anything. So there's definitely this gap of explanation that one candidate doesn't have versus the other one who does provide a lot of explanation. 1 second, I need cheese. But what's the results look like so far? It looks like North Carolina, she's ahead too.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like winning Florida. Is it Florida next or Ohio?
I think it was, oh, I'm not sure. So far, Hillary Clinton is ahead in Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio, which for me, that's a pretty good thing. Like, that makes me pretty happy because those are those states have a lot of electoral votes. But by all means, if you are a Trump supporter or if you have a differing political stance, please post a comment. I want to know your thoughts, please. Um, because, like, I think here, this is the thing that I've noticed is the problem with voters on both sides, Hillary voters, Bernie voters, Trump voters, everything. People don't want to listen to one another. I feel like the first step in being able to understand another person's stance is being able to listen to them. And sometimes we get so caught up in our own frustration and hate for another candidate, or we get so impassionate about our stance on things that we don't have the ability to pay attention. And that's something that I've been trying really hard to do over the past week. I've been trying really hard to listen to Trump supporters because they all come from a place where they have had various experiences that, like I said before, shaped their stance. And why not listen to that stance? Why not understand what makes those people tick? Okay. I hope that makes some sort of sense. Here in Michigan, it is past 8 p.m., so the polls have officially I believe the polls have closed, except for maybe various places up in the UP, but we'll see what happens in Michigan. I will be very sad if Hillary does not win Michigan. What percentage of votes is in Michigan? Did you guys know see that?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
They're showing Michigan as red.
I don't know. I see Michigan as red, and I'm just like, oh hell, like what?
They're like neck and neck in Florida.
Okay, but like I know up here in northern Michigan, basically everywhere I go, I see nothing but Trump signs, and with most every person I talk to, they are supporting Trump for some various reason. Granted, they don't really give me like a solid reason. I wish they would. I wish they would give me a solid reason. Um, but who knows? I'm hoping that people who are commenting will give me some of their thoughts. Um, Hello, Hellbound Iscariot. How are you? Long time no see. By the way, I really appreciate all your comments. You comment on my videos and you always provide some very interesting feedback that I value because it helps me look at things in different perspectives. But anyway, back to my whole conversation about viewing things from different perspectives and how it seems that all supporters of their respective candidates don't listen to one another. In order to understand how to respond to people's arguments, we need to listen to what people are trying to say, because how are you going to counteract that argument if you don't know why they are supporting said person? If a person comes at me with the idea that, hey, I really support Trump because of his foreign policy ideas, because I do think that the United States needs to become less involved in foreign affairs and that we need to stop terrorism, those are good reasons to support someone. And if someone gives me those ideas, yes, I'm like, all right, great. So really, it's foreign policy that's defining your thoughts on the matter. For me, of course, it comes from a personal perspective as well, because I am approaching this from an LGBTQ perspective, because I want to make sure that my whole community stays safe. And with events this past year, it's been very detrimental for us because there still is a lot of hate that exists. There still are people who would gladly hurt someone who is an LGBT. I mean, if you look at several different situations in our history as a community, most of our history centers around people who have been the victims of hate crimes or shootings. Um, and it's really sad because how like one group's history should not be defined by so much loss, by so much devastation, and that's one reason why I am terrified of Trump becoming president, because I feel like he would stimulate um, that toxic hate that seems to give people permission to invalidate people. Looks like Trump is leading a little bit in Florida right now, slightly, not by much, but we'll see what happens. But um, but yeah, the other day, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I was told I'm selfish for um, supporting Hillary Clinton because of that reason, and it frustrates me because we all cast our vote with personal ideas in mind. We all want our own personal ideas to be reflected on a national scale, and sometimes that doesn't always happen. Sometimes um, we're not always that fortunate. But I mean, and here is another thing that concerns me because I've talked to a lot of other people who have discussed why they want to vote for Trump, and many of them have said it's because someone that I know wants me to, or somebody I encouraged me to do so, and they really haven't done any research on it or anything like that. When it comes to voting, it's something that deserves a deep amount of thought. It's not something that we should just go out and do and be like, oh, whatever. Like this is the future of our country we're talking about here, and oh, they're tied right now in Florida. Oh, slightly. There's a slight tie, but the fact of the matter is, you can't simply vote without giving it some thought and kind of introspecting and using one's personal experience to shape what they want, to shape what they do. Um, and I've had many Trump supporters be like, "Oh well, Donnie, Hillary Clinton has validated sexual assault. She has um, shamed the sexual assault victims of Bill Clinton." And but they do that without really taking any consideration. They do that without researching the central issues surrounding what that was. Um, I'm sorry, I need cheese desperately right now. She's winning in North Carolina right now. Um, but Prim, please don't knock my light over. My friend's cat is on the table. She's being really cute right now. But oh my god, I totally lost my train of thought. Uh, I feel like the wine is well. I have not had enough wine for it to kick in yet, so I'm good still. I'm so good. But la la la. What was I gonna say? Oh, people were making statements about like voting for someone, and then I was talking about Hillary Clinton and her criticizing sexual assault victims, and people who have said that have not really looked deeply into the situation and have really explored the nuances of that. Mostly, those reactions that people give are based off from statements that other people, like other Trump supporters, make, and sometimes like people have skewed perspectives. They don't. They say things specifically to persuade people. Like we all use a form of rhetoric in order to persuade different people to look from our perspectives, and um, that's something that we need to keep in mind because like I was talking about with the media, we see people's opinions, but we don't necessarily take into account that those opinions are being influenced by other people around them too. Right? It's very easy to get lost in that type of thing. Okay. uh, I'd be waiting for comments, people. Where be your comments? Like, holy hell, like, I need some opinions here. Someone please disagree with me. I really would like to debate with someone. That would be nice. Lacey, disagree with me for the sake of disagreeing. um, friend, none of your shit right now. Ignore the cat. She's kind of being bitchy right now. Um, well, earlier in the election cycle, coming back to the whole discussion of sexual assault, I got really upset at a lot of Trump supporters because they were basically invalidating the fact that Trump has been making some very sexually violent statements, and I like in a debate like I don't often like to reference the fact that I was also sexually assaulted, but in that type of situation when people were like, "Oh, well, it's just men being men," like that frustrates me because it's like why validate that kind of behavior? That behavior, that lackadaisy idea of, oh, well, it's okay to treat people this way, that definitely fuels the fire of that form of thinking. And I had one person tell me, "Oh, well, you're just playing the victim card," like, which is ridiculous. And I got really upset over that because, you know, if I should have to use my own experience to counteract someone's argument, that doesn't make me the type of person that's playing the victim card. I'm just referencing personal experience. We all use our personal experience to help validate our stances on things. Um, oh, he's in winning Florida again. Come on, Florida, don't fail me. Well, we'll see what happens. But North Carolina, she's ahead. Okay. Oh my god, this wine is so delicious right now. You guys have literally no idea. Literally no idea. Um, but yeah, um, I got really upset over that kind of comment because it was very disrespectful, and I don't really think people's experiences should be invalidated like that. They shouldn't be overlooked as though they're just playing the victim. All right. That would be like telling a military veteran who has gone through a lot of post-traumatic stress like disorder and like telling them that their opinions on the whole discussion of PTSD doesn't matter because they suffer from PT. Like that doesn't make any logical sense. And people who are sexually assaulted have valid opinions because they too have experienced trauma in some way. And I really think that it's all right to include that in the conversation. Um, I'm typing something right now, but and and I know what has fueled a lot of people is the whole idea that, oh, we're tired of being politically correct. Like, why should we be politically correct? It doesn't accomplish anything. And here is my stance on political correctness. All right, 1 second, I need to type something really quick. Um, Most people think that political correctness means that you're not giving in to other people's ideas of what is right and what is wrong. And I firmly believe that political correctness exists for a reason. And the reason why we have it in our culture so much is because it's a sign that we take into consideration other people's feelings. Um, because if we would have done this years and years ago, if we would have actually cared about people's thoughts on things, I don't really think there would be as much like war or death that we have experienced. But now that we are actually caring about people's well being, caring about the experiences people go through, we don't we don't immediately invalidate them. Like we actually listen, we paid. I guess the whole theme of this is listening. Like we need to listen to other people. That way they don't feel like they are being excluded or ostracized in some way. And it's very easy to do that. And I know that a lot of Trump supporters sincerely feel that, I mean, they're being discriminated against because they are victim of this political correctness. And it's all right to be honest. Like I don't think honesty is a bad thing at all, but it's very easy for honesty to slip into hatred. Um like that would, it would be like me saying that I think Trump supporters are stupid and that they're all racist and misogynistic and homophobic, but really I don't think that they all are, and nor would I flat out tell someone that, because again, everyone has their specific stances on things, and sometimes people aren't exposed to, various people of those identities. Like, I know I've had a lot of people in my life. Like, today, my friend my friend Tiffany told me that her dad had this whole idea of gay people before he even met me. Like, he believed that gay people were they acted the way the media depicted them, and when he met me he was like, oh, gay people actually don't act that way. And that really humbled me, because I know that when people actually experience something, they end up learning from that experience. They end up understanding more so something they didn't understand. And and that kind of brings me back to political correctness, because political correctness keeps us listening long enough for us to understand other people's perspectives. And I think that's what this whole election, this whole contention has lacked, like any sort of listening. But by the way, if you guys, whoever's watching, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click the little red subscribe button. That would be really awesome. I really appreciate your guys' support. You can also, in the description section of this video, you can find my different social media um, platforms, and I would appreciate it if you would like them. That would be amazing. Other than that, I guess, like, I'm still pretty conflicted about how things are going to progress, because, like, yeah, I am pretty scared. Like, I am scared that, for example, if Trump becomes president, I'm scared that what we have is going to fall to pieces. At least from my perspective, with Clinton, we preserve what we have. All right. Lacey, you're still here, even though you're in the same room with me. I love you.
It's loyalty.
Uh, um, but if you guys get a chance and you share it on your Facebook pages, that would be fab. If you would like, of course. But I'm just really afraid of us losing the momentum that we've achieved, because you know it only takes one thing to completely derail that momentum. And I feel like with a person who believes that people should be deported, like, just deported people like Muslims should be banned from coming in the country, things like that. Like, I feel like that would severely impact the minorities here. And the United States is all about accepting minorities, all about accepting people who are different. That's what makes us a great country. It's that diversity. Um, Hello, Jacob Kaiju. Jacob Spencer, how are you doing? He says that I can say the politics bring out the worst in people. And I agree that they do bring out the worst in people, mostly because people, like I was saying earlier, get really caught up in their own personal stances on things. And I'm not going to lie, I've had situations where I've got caught up in my own stances on things. And, like, I have really gotten frustrated and upset and offended, but after a while I, like, kind of bring in my perspective, and I'm like, okay, yes, I was upset, but I understand where that upset is coming from. I understand why it hurts so much, and after coming to that understanding, then I'm capable of listening to the other person's perspective. And I think this is important with regard to people, like, for example, Trump supporters who think in one central way, like, they don't look at other perspectives. Like, give yourself a chance to listen. Like, if you are upset over a certain candidate or a certain policy, then by all means explain yourself and try to introspect a bit. Think about where that source of upset is coming from. Okay. And Eve, yes, that is cheese, particularly it is sharp cheddar, which is my favorite cheese. So It's really yummy. But yes, I feel like it's easy for people if they actually pinpoint the source of what's bothering them, or their source, or their emotional reaction. Like, where does that emotional reaction come from? Well, Donald Trump just won Alabama, or projected to win Alabama, and what was the other state? South Carolina, I think.
Yeah.
South Carolina.
And he's
Be-
winning in Florida by like 63,000 votes.
oh, and he's slightly winning Florida. Like, it doesn't surprise me that he is winning many of the southern states. Um,
That's some big ones though.
yeah, yeah. But of course, we won't really know the full result until we hear about what happens in the western states. Um, mm. Hey, the antique autistic, how are you? My mind is right here. Unfortunately, I do not have a fancy glass of wine, or I don't have like a fancy glass for it. But this fancy little blue cup, it totally works for me. Oh, I totally do drink. I drink in great moderation. I mostly drink because I like the taste of things. Um, Believe me, as much as I made it sound, I'm not drinking to while away the pain of the election. Although I've had some moments over the past several months where I've been like, I just want to be like, but what are you gonna do? I need better props. What do you mean by that? I don't need props. I have my own beautiful face. Besides, I don't know how I would include props per se. Yes, Florida is very dicey. Mostly because Florida has a pretty huge population. I think Florida is actually one of the most populated states, if I remember correctly. But there's such a melting pot of uh, melting pot of different groups of people there. Like, there are a lot of retirees that live in Florida. There are a lot of millennials in Florida. There are a lot of Hispanics in Florida, and all of those contribute to the inconsistency that I think we're seeing with the Florida numbers right now. Um, but yeah. So I'm reflecting on my own experience voting today. So I got up really early. Well, early for me. Early for me is like 6. I got up at 6 to get dressed, and I went into vote at around 7:30. And keep in mind, I live in a rural community, so um, oh my god. Sorry, one of the comments just cracked me up. But what was I saying? Oh, so I went in at 7:30 this morning, and I live in a rural community, so I was like, oh, not many people have come to vote. But if I remember correctly, like over 100 people had voted already by the time I had gotten there at 7:30. The polls were open for 30 minutes. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, hey, that means that a lot of people are getting out. And I guess that's the one positive benefit of this election. I mean, passion on all sides of the discussion have really brought people out. And I know there are people who never used to vote who are actually voting now, and I think that's really great. And I feel like, even though I disagree with the majority of what Donald Trump says, the fact that he's able to enliven a passion in people, I think that's great. Like, I feel like if people are passionate, um, that's great. And Jacob, yes, I am pretty shocked that Texas is still light blue. I don't know. Like, here, the thing is, most cities vote Democrat, because of course they have a larger population, and most rural communities vote Republican. Of course, it varies depending on what state you're in, and you know, like I know in Michigan, a lot of our voting, um, a lot of our voters are motivated by the auto industry because state Michigan used to be like the state that basically formed the auto industry way back when. So there's a lot of people who have, like, a lot of blue collar workers who have connections to that type of industry, and I think that's what makes rural people, um, you know, more likely to vote for that type of cause, for that type of Republican stance. Um, the antique autistic says that we were able to vote by mail a few weeks ago, and that's also another convenient thing about the election. When I lived out in Missouri, I was actually able to do absentee voting, so I would have my ballot mailed to me, and then I could send it back, and um, cast my vote in that way. And that was pretty convenient. Um, and I know a lot of people who just don't feel like going out to polls. Like I like this morning, I really didn't want to socially interact with people because I hadn't had coffee yet. Like I was kind of grumpy, and I was just like, but Lacey, you're making. Oh God, I'm like shaking my screen. Earthquake. But I'm like, Alicia, oh my God. But I keep holding this cheese. I might as well just put it in my mouth, right?
That's like you
God,
said. Stick in your
Lacey, oh my God, it's too soft to be that. I'm sorry, some of this isn't rated G. I blame wine. Um, I totally lost what I was saying too. I like it, this is just stream of consciousness. Like I'm just giving you guys an option so you don't have to watch the annoying news and that you can hopefully be entertained and informed a little bit. I'm trying to be pretty objective. Like even though I did vote Hillary, I am trying to be open to other people's perspectives. Um, Iridium, I hope I'm saying that right. Iridium137 says that it's the opposite for me. I'm apathetic about the election because, sorry, I'm laughing at someone else's comment, because I dislike both candidates. And, that's understandable. And I know a lot of people who feel very frustrated with both candidates. And I also know a lot of friends who voted third party. Jill Stein, who is the Green Party candidate, and the other dude who is the Libertarian Party. Gary Johnson. Okay, oh my God. Sorry, Gary Johnson supporters. Like for some reason that name just kind of slipped my mind. Again, I blame the wine. It's wine's fault. But and I think the whole contention between the whole contention between the main party candidates have really motivated a lot of people to vote third party. I know a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters went to third party votes, and I think that's great. Like, really, there are a lot of flaws with our two party system, and I think if we can overcome the two party system and introduce some fresh ideas and fresh modes of thinking, like that would be great. Um, and I've heard some pretty convincing discussion of why people have chosen third party candidates. If anybody commenting has chosen a third party candidate, please, by all means, explain your reasoning in the comment section because I would like to share it. Um, the anti-Gothistic said that I dislike both, but I think one is more likely to destroy the world. And I've seen that discussion on both sides. Like a lot of people think Hillary could destroy the world. A lot of people think that Trump could destroy the world. And sorry, I keep shaking my laptop monitor. Um, but I think again, it really comes down to um, one's perspective, one's stance, and one's idea. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in what's happening on TV for a sec. Mm. What is the percentage of Florida? Did you guys see it?
Trump's 49 and Hillary's like 47 or something like that.
Okay.
He's got 66, but she's got 68.
Oh, okay. As you can tell, I'm super enthused about that. Jacob, could you explain to me why you decided to go with Gary Johnson? I would really like to hear your thoughts on that. I like this could be my failing. I could have done this, but I really didn't do that much research into third party candidacy. I feel like I could have, but um the last time I supported a third party candidate was I think back in 2000, was it 2008 or 2012? I really liked Ron Paul. He was a former libertarian candidate, mostly because he kind of saw through that whole Republican and Democrat dichotomy. He was very good with weeding out the kind of the contradictions of both. I found that very refreshing. But like unfortunately Gary Johnson didn't really make that much news over this, and it's really sad because I feel like the competition during this election has been to like get the most attention or give the opposite candidate really bad attention. I know Hillary and Trump have been doing that very much so, and And it's a pity that Johnson and Stein haven't gotten more attention because I would really like to know more about them. I would like to learn about them. But again, the supporters of those two really haven't been that vocal either. And another thing that I think is absolutely ludicrous is that Johnson and Stein were not included in any of the primetime debates. I think they had one primetime debate on CNN, but it was at an awkward hour and nobody knew about the debate and it was just really ridiculous. And that makes me sad because I would like to see their thoughts compared to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton's. Like, wouldn't it be nice to see them all on the same stage and hear their stances on various things? Um, Jacob said, to be fair, the media doesn't talk about Johnson, so I can't blame you for not remembering. Well, I did, like, now, like, I saw his face in my mind, I just couldn't think of his name. But, yeah. The only time I recall hearing about Johnson in the media is when he forgot, I don't know, he forgot something, and people were all up in arms about that. Um, but I can't even remember what that situation was. I think he forgot um, what was happening in Aleppo in Syria, if I remember correctly. The antique autistic said, I wanted Bernie but did not vote for a third candidate because I am so terrified by the thought of Trump being president. That's kind of the perspective that I'm coming from, too. I am terrified that again, I'm terrified that he is a threat to minorities like myself and women, but I'm also terrified that he could potentially ruin our relationships with so many other countries because he has flat out said that he wants to get rid of certain trade agreements, which honestly, those trade agreements have helped us economically considerably. Yeah, each like all political decisions have some sort of negative ramification on some group of people, and I think the problem is always trying to find that balance of what decision helps the most people. That's why, in theory, Obamacare was a great idea. It wasn't necessarily implemented correctly, but it was a good idea because it was going to help so many people. I know it helped me because I never had health insurance, um, at least independently, until that became an effect. Of course, due to insurance premiums now, though, I do not. I no longer have Obamacare. I'm actually on Medicaid, which I mean it's all based on annual income, and I feel like that's the problem with the system because the insurance companies aren't like the insurance companies have the freedom to increase prices, it seems, on whatever they want, and that's like pretty detrimental to different people. I'm sorry, my glasses are driving me crazy right now. Let's see. Jacob says that I was kind of leaning towards small government style stuff. Plus, I heard some good things about Johnson. Granted, he hasn't made him look too great. Okay, so John, like the libertarian stance on things is pretty Republican. Economically, libertarians are pretty Republican, but also pretty socially progressive. So I like to think that if you combine Democrat and Republican together, that is that is where you get libertarian. And I remember Ron Paul always saying that, hey, everything should be about the Constitution. If it's not about the Constitution, it doesn't really mean anything. So I think it's not surprising to me that you would want to support him based on his stance on small government. Um, oh, and of course, for the anti-autistic also says that Obamacare helped her too. Yes, it needs tweaking. Definitely, like I feel like Hillary is acknowledging too that Obamacare is not perfect. Donald Trump thinks though that we should get rid of Obamacare entirely. But if we got rid of it entirely, millions and millions of people would be without health care again, and that could potentially be damaging. Um, Hello, Hog called Tico. And I think that if something that is influencing this many people doesn't need to be deleted randomly, it needs to be revised. It needs to be fixed. Or here's another idea: there could be some other um, healthcare reform that comes into play and we could transition into that one. Maybe it could be similar to Obamacare. Maybe it could have maybe it could be completely different, but there would need to be some sort of transition. You can't just leave millions and millions of people hanging. Now, when it comes The antique autistic says that there is not a lot of room for helping the helpless in the libertarian stance. If you could go into a little bit more detail about that, that'd be great, because I would like to hear your perspective on that. Like, why is that the case? Um, when it comes to same-sex marriage, like of course I've been told that like a lot of people don't really find that a priority. It's okay, Jacob. Your grammar's fine. A lot of people don't find it to be a priority, but it's a priority because, again, it has affected a lot of people. Not to mention, legalizing same sex marriage has helped the economy drastically in many states. Um, but it's mind boggling to think that if Trump does get into office and somehow they manage to overcome or turn back same-sex marriage, like everyone who's been married, I mean, would those marriages be valid? Like, would they still be recognized? What would happen? Like, it's it's just really unnerving to have to live in fear of that. It's very unfortunate. Because I mean, heterosexual people don't have to live in fear of losing their marriages. I mean, unless they get a divorce, of course. But they don't have to worry about some sort of law coming into play that says, "Oh, you can't get married because you're not allowed to." Like, it's very sad. Um, yeah, but I need wine. We're getting into some thick subject matter. I need wine right now. I'm surprised I've only drank like 1 cup so far. Normally, I'm like drinking the whole bottle. What?
You've been talking too much.
I've been talking too much. Oh my god,
Drink
Lacey.
more, talk less.
Lacey's philosophy is drink more, talk less. Okay. Do you guys think I should drink more and talk less? If I drink too much, I'm gonna have to pee, and that'll be a problem, though. Because I'm not gonna want to leave randomly and pee, or of course, I'm not gonna want to. Oh my god. Um.
Ow. Ow.
See, I would really like to stay up late and watch the results, but I have to get up super early in the morning, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. But uh, what's the percentage of Florida? Can you guys check that really quick? It's on the screen.
49.1. Trump and 40.
What's the amount of percentage that's been achieved so far?
91.
91. Okay, so there's still some opportunity for Hillary to win Florida.
Oh, don't you mean Hillary?
Oh, Lacey's like, don't you mean Hillary? That's like that seems to be the common naming for of Hillary by Trump supporters, like Hillary. Here, like, okay, let's talk about the whole Benghazi thing really quick. I really feel like there's so many mixed pieces of information. There's so many conflicting stories about the whole event that it makes it very difficult to know what actually did happen. I look at it from the perspective of they are in an area where terrorism is pretty high, and I've heard in interviews people mentioning like people who were over there like in government positions being like, hey, we are aware of the ramifications of being in a place like this. um if you hear scratching, that is Rogue the pet tortoise. I apologize. Let's see. Pee in the empty cup. I'm not gonna pee in the empty cup. Um, but yeah, I think people's opinions again are shaped by what we hear. Like we hear that someone is a killer, so we immediately believe that someone is a killer without doing any research on the situation as a whole. All right, that like being able to do that research is what's so important. All right. Um, what's so funny? What did I miss?
Study.
What?
Clifton. Country Clifton.
Oh, we have this whole thing where we portmanteau words. I kind of blame my friend Molly for this because this is how I got into it. Shout out to Molly. But now we like portmanteau all words. We combine them together, and we often tread into the realm of the profane frequently. So if you hear random blurts of that in the background, Don't mind it. Blame the wine. Blame the wine, right? That is the theme of the night. Blame the wine. Like, if Trump wins, blame the wine. If Hillary doesn't, blame the wine. Oh dear. My hair is like a hot mess right now. Um, Question: do you guys think that I should do live streams more often? Because I've had several people be like, Donny, you should do live streams more often because it's fun being able to kind of have an actual conversation. Like, it is very conversational because I am getting a chance to see what you guys are talking about, and I'm able to talk about it. What?
Michigan's reporting now.
Oh my God, Hillary's ahead in Michigan. Yes. Lacey, don't choke on your wine. Unless you weren't choking on the wine.
Any bar.
Come get more wine.
President Clinton. President Clinton. President Clinton.
Oh my God, it's getting really hot in here. Woo! All right. Or to do it like Hillary. Woo! Oh, ow. I strained my shoulder, swiveling. Is that? That would be true. You guys quit dicking around over there.
Don't make me dick slap.
Lacey, is there something you're not telling me?
I gotta see.
She's gonna slap you with her titty.
No, I'm gonna slap you with my titty.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
She's gonna body slap you with her buff.
Oh my God. It's so hot in here. I'm dying right now. Okay, back to the future of our nation that's at stake. And I think after all of this, like, it's important just to be able to laugh because this has been such a stressful election. Like, I don't remember the 2008 election being this unbelievably stressful. Oh my God. I'm having a conversation here.
I sit like this all the time. I'm just like,
Ignore them. But it's nice being able to just laugh and being able to de-stress. I'm like, I don't care who wins. I really just hope that tomorrow everyone can just calm themselves and relax. Did you just say, is Hillary ahead in Missouri? In Missouri, wow, that's pretty ironic, being ahead of Missouri of all places. Missouri is very staunch Republican, so it really impresses me that that is the case. Oh my God. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay.
Don't.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I can't even speak correctly. I do care about who wins, definitely. Because it could completely change everything. You guys aren't messing it up. You guys are just helping me feel the wine more intensely. Give me a moment, everyone. Give me a moment. I need a moment. It's not the wine anymore. Okay, we have like 6 minutes left. 6 minutes.
For what?
Before the end of my conversation with everyone. But I really appreciate how conversational this has been. Well, at least on the interwebs here. Because it's nice to hear other perspectives. I really appreciate it. Um, and see, the anti-autistic just mentioned that the Senate vote is important too. Unfortunately, when we are in an election like this, when we're worried about Donald Trump, sorry, another comment just made me laugh. When we're worried about like the presidential candidates, we tend to brush under the rug all of the other elections going on. There are elections at the local level. Like, for example, I mean, today I voted for my dad because he's running as township supervisor, and that was important to me. Like, I really feel like we should value our local representatives as well as our federal representatives and state representatives because they all work in tandem with one another. They all work together. Um, but yeah, so yeah. Another thing with this election is that a lot of people believe that when I participated in the election and I went to vote, nobody told me that I could vote split ticket. Okay. Jamie was hilarious. Bring that here. Bring me the cookies. My friend Elise is gonna make funfetti cookies for us. For my Take them away.
Fun Cletty. I'll make you fun Cletty.
It's so hot in here.
Fun Cletty.
Okay, that's not working. Anyway, what was I talking about? I totally forgot what I was talking about. But yes, we need to value the other elections outside of just the presidential election because, for example, my backup idea, if the horrible circumstance comes that Trump wins, I'm hoping that these Senate and House elections moderate his administration a bit. Because remember, each section of the government is supposed to serve as a check and balance, and I'm hoping that with him in office, if he were to become in office, that would be the case. There would be that check and balance. So I need another glass of wine here shortly. But it's just if you hear that, it's the microwave running. I'm kind of in the kitchen right now, like, see, look, voila, kitchen.
We're fat bitches.
Say hi, Alicia.
Hi.
Say hi, Lacey and Jamie.
Hi.
Oh my God, Lacey. I just had to introduce you to my friends who are here, because it's kind of awkward talking to a computer while there are people like spectating. It's just like, oh, if that doesn't make me sound vain and narcissistic, I don't know what does. Granted, that's kind of the story of my life, but we won't go there. We will talk about that in other potential videos. But yeah, so as the election is kind of winding down, I think it's important for us to all keep in mind that at the end of the day, what we need to do is still care for one another. We need to care about each other's well-being. And I mean, regardless if it's Clinton, regardless if it's Trump, I mean, our country's going to have to move forward. I really hope it's Hillary because I really want us to maintain that progressive momentum. But if it isn't and it is Trump, I really hope that people have the capability to listen to one another and to value each other's thoughts. But again, remember the key is listening. If that listening does not take place, how can we understand one another? How can we learn to accept our stances on things? And I feel like that is the greatest thing that we have learned from this election so far is knowing how to value our thoughts and how to actually listen. But anyway, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. Please subscribe to my channel and share this video around and share your thoughts in the comments. Like if you watch this later on and you want to share your thoughts, go for it. I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you guys. I will do more live streams because they're pretty fun. All right. Love you. You guys have a good night.